And honestly, we have a lot of stories just like that. And I'm really, really proud of like the work that we do because we're keeping small businesses afloat,
Yeah.
and we're helping them service more clients in our country. And I think that is incredibly rewarding work to do. And I think that's why everybody that works here at Paradigm tends to be really driven by our mission.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Your Customer Success. My guest today is Amber Monroe, Senior Vice President of Customer Experience at Paradigm Senior Services. Amber is a customer success leader who has spent 20 years in healthcare, building systems into relationships and turning those relationships into real impact. She's built high performing CS teams, scaled onboarding and support teams, all in complex healthcare ecosystems. Amber brings a rare blend of strategy and empathy and is passionate about helping women lead boldly. Today, we're going to talk about what makes healthcare customer success unique, how to measure and drive success, and why trust might be the ultimate business driver. Amber, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Gary. I am glad to be here. Really excited to kick this off today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. We had a great introductory conversation, and it is hotter there than it is here. It is, what did you say, 108 on the heat index?
108 in Central Florida. That's the heat index this morning.
We're we're
That's
we're right up
hot.
there too. So it's hot and muggy here. So if we're going to the water a lot here, folks, you know why. So let's table set a little bit, Amber, because we sometimes we jump right into it. But with your role in your organization, I think it's really important to set the table and give listeners a clear picture of what you do and what your company does.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I work for an organization called Paradigm Senior Services, and we specialize in revenue cycle management. So we assist with VA and Medicaid billing for home care agencies. So we really handle the entire billing process from authorization management, payment reconciliation, ensuring agencies get paid on time every time. And, part of this function or this organization is that we really take a lot of the administrative burden off agencies so they can redirect a lot of their resources towards providing great and exceptional patient care. So my team oversees everything to do with customer support, account management, and our enterprise function. So I lead customer experience and love what I do here at Paradigm. We're really making a difference, that's for sure.
Right. So this is a little different in that you're making life easier on these agencies to provide the services they need for people who really need these healthcare services, and
Yes.
and enables them to stay in business basically,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
and,
Absolutely.
and function more efficiently. So for people outside of healthcare, how would you describe the difference between your work and what a traditional kind of SaaS company customer success team looks like and does?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of core differences. I've worked for several different SaaS organizations where you're essentially selling a product. And now I'm working for a services based organization. So there isn't a product particularly that we're selling. It's really just the function of service. And I think it's just fundamentally very, very different. And we're operating in the healthcare space, which is obviously highly regulated. And so our what we do is billing, and billing can be really, really complex. Traditional home care today in the United States is essentially private pay. You're paying for the services for a care provider to come in your home. And we are really teaching owners how to diversify into other payer mixes. So we talk to them about how can you expand to service veterans? Can you expand to service Medicaid clients and participants? And so home care agencies are typically small businesses, and they don't have large compliance or regulatory teams to help them with these types of requirements. And so they really rely on strategic partners like Paradigm to help support them. And I also think the financial stakes are really, really high for home care agency owners. So if we have a billing error or there's a compliance issue, it really means that either the agency thrives, they either make payroll, or sometimes they don't make payroll.
Wow. Yeah.
So the stakes are high. And so we have to make sure we're fully well versed in everything that's happening across the country. We need to truly understand the compliance requirements, the regulatory requirements, and make sure that we're operating with efficiency and with accuracy. So home care agency owners are getting paid on time every time, and they can continue to pay and provide that care. So I'd say those are the things that are, I would say, different. We're not selling a product. We're not looking at product usage metrics. We're really not. We still are looking at things like time to first value. How do we make sure they're getting paid as quickly as possible? And so I would say those are fundamentally a couple of the core differences.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different from what I've done, but it's very similar in the way that you got to make sure your retirees get paid, and that's a lot of what I did. You
Yes.
invest the money in a pension fund, and that's important and very operationally challenging. But then sometimes my companies would pay the retirees, and if you're not paying the retirees, you've got a big problem, right? So
You
that's
do.
complicated stuff, and you just have to make sure you do that daily mundane stuff exceptionally well, and
Hmm.
people are getting paid on time, or else there is chaos. So you led right into my next question, which is about how you're defining and driving success. So what's your first priority? Is it outcomes, client retention, operational efficiency, something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think client outcomes are incredibly important. That's ensuring that our billing is done efficiently and accurately on time every time, and
Yeah.
that the payers are paying those claims on time and as quickly as possible. And so I think we have to operate it operationally excellent. We have to be. Which means there's a lot of systems and processes that we have in place to ensure that that happens accurately every time. And we have to stay on top of trends in the country. So if a Medicaid state or a state changes Medicaid rules or requirements, we have to make sure all of our customers in that particular state understand the changes and the impacts to their business and what they have to do to meet those requirements. And so it requires us to have a level of industry expertise. And we have a really, really wonderful team of product experts and a research team that essentially goes out and makes sure all teams internally are prepped and ready to support customers when those major changes happen. And so we really are a resource for a lot of our customers to ensuring, because they might not be getting the notices or the notifications of something major changing in their market, or they might have gotten the notification but they don't truly understand the impact to their business.
Hmm.
And so they look to partners like us to make
Right.
sure that they stay in compliance with what's happening in their state. And so those are things that I think are really, really important for us. And I think that's kind of the area we're really focused. And obviously, super, super high customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
We are very, very invested in our overall customer experience. And we're very invested in looking at tools and technology that's out there that will help us do our work more efficiently in order to provide more personalized level care for our customers. Because again, they are small business owners, and in the home care space, a lot of times your main point of contact might be covering a shift in the field this
Yeah.
afternoon because a caregiver calls out, and so we're competing with a high priority. They have a high priorities, and we might not be the highest priority. But we have to make sure that we're doing our job with diligence and with efficiency.
Yeah.
I think those are critical.
Yeah, gosh, there's gotta be so many changes that you have to keep
Oh,
up with, and you gotta keep your team up to date, but then you've gotta
yes,
communicate that to your clients as well. Is there
yes.
any magic there that you could share with us? Because that's just a lot of back and forth, and I'm not sure if it's, meetings, electronic, distributions, reference materials. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think really we have a team that is hyper focused on different service lines. So we support VA and Medicaid business today. And those are kind of our two pair lines where we consider ourselves experts. And
Mhm.
so we have a VA product expert and a Medicaid product expert. And those two individuals have teams built around them that are constantly, constantly looking at what's happening across the market. So they're looking at trends, they're looking at changes. And when they have those changes, we have an internal SharePoint site where they post news about things that are happening.
Hmm.
We partner with our wonderful learning and development department to create internal training resources, whether that's courses in our education, whether it's a stand up training where we pull everybody together virtually and get everybody up to speed. And then it's constant communication and refining those updates. So when major changes are happening in a state, you're likely going to see communications going out pretty regularly, whether that's a monthly update or an every other week update. And once the state puts out a notice or a new bulletin, we're constantly reviewing those bulletins and then catering the messaging into terms that our customers can truly understand.
Right.
And so we're just constantly in this state of continuous learning. And I tell everybody that joins Paradigm is that one thing is for sure, you will always learn something new pretty much every single day because the healthcare landscape changes
Right.
often.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine because I know what it's like in investment servicing and financial
Mm.
services and compliance and things like that. And it gets crazy sometimes because you're dealing with global markets and tax reclamation and global market. I mean, it's just crazy in compliance and global markets. And there's
Mhm.
always a new compliance module coming up and popping up on your inbox. And then, which they're all, there was very well done in my experience with a lot of the trainings I've been through, but sometimes they get loaded at the end of the year and everybody's trying to
Yeah.
get out of there and you don't have the balance. So it's really hard to do it well. And I could just imagine you have to translate it into something digestible for your clients because
Yes.
it's legal compliance stuff that, not everybody's a lawyer and you have to interpret that and then put that into production, I guess is the best word, or into
Yes.
your operational flow. And it's not going to make sense a lot. And I can just see how complicated that could be just from my
Yeah.
experience.
We really try to anticipate our customers' needs. What types of
Well,
questions
yeah,
might our customers have?
where they're getting
And so,
confused.
right. And so we a lot of times before we send out a communication, we're really prepping all of our customer facing teams to say, hey, this is the communication that's going out. Before we release this to our customers, what questions do you have? Anything we can help answer? And we make sure that we refine and tweak our messaging so it meets the needs of our customers and almost minimizes the inquiries that come in asking for clarification questions. And
Hmm.
a lot of times we learn, sometimes we send a communication out and our support ticket volume goes skyrockets. And then everybody's
Ding.
asking for a template or something. And then we're like, okay, we learned this for next time. Let's make sure we include a template and so I feel like we are constantly learning from our customers. They're teaching us pretty frequently
Hmm.
on ways that we need to communicate to them. And I think we try to meet them through different modes of communication. So we have a newsletter that we go out monthly. And so sometimes we will drop these communication messages into a little blip in a newsletter. We have a blog. So sometimes we will write things in more detail on our blog. And then also email communications. And then future is notifications in our product or actual product where customers log in. So I think we try to over communicate
Yeah.
and keep up with the trends that are happening in the market.
Yeah. So that is interesting and complicated stuff. I could just feel your challenges just from what I've done, and it's very similar in structure, I think, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
much different industry, that's for sure. So I have to ask the metrics question. We're talking about customer success and client experience, and everybody wants to know the metrics. And one of my least favorite sayings I've said before is, "If you can't measure it, you can't manage it," or whatever. I personally can't stand that saying. I get it, but I don't think it's an effective saying. How do you measure the things? How do you measure your success? And what are the metrics that you use? What matters here more than anything? Maybe compare, contrast with
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit different in our industry too, because we're looking at um, billing. So we're looking at claims acceptance rates, we're looking at denial rates. Those are really, we call them clean claims. That's basically when you push a claim out the door to a payer and the payer accepts it, there's no errors, and in turn, the payer pays. That is called a first pass. And we want our first pass to be very, very high, as close to 100% as possible, because that essentially means that there are no errors on the claim, right? Like the client that was serviced, they were authorized for that care for service. And in turn, our billing team properly coded everything and sent it out the door correctly. So we're constantly looking at those metrics. Obviously, a company that has a low first pass claims rate is something to be concerned about. A company that has high denial rates or high collections, those are
Hmm.
things that we have to look at internally that actually help us better understand success metrics. When I used to work in SaaS, a lot of the metrics we were focused on are product usage, adoption rates, and that's a little different than what we're doing here too.
Right.
So we do still care deeply about customer satisfaction. And we assess customer satisfaction all throughout the customer journey. So after they get enrolled with a new payer, how was their experience with our enrollment and credentialing team? After they get through onboarding, how was their onboarding experience? If they participate in our offer of coaching, how was that experience? And then 90 days with their assigned account manager, and then at their 1 year anniversary. So we're constantly doing pulse checks on their overall satisfaction, and we're
Hmm.
looking at that pretty regularly. And so those are important things. And then there's small nuances when it comes to payment of claims. A lot of times people have signed up for paper checks, and paper checks can get lost in the mail. And then you have to track down those paper checks. And so we really focus on making sure a lot of our customers are signed up for EFTs and they're getting those. So we look at like EFT percentage of adoption. Those are like important metrics for us. So I would say there's a lot of like qualitative things that we're looking at and quantitative things. And then we're constantly, for our account management team, we conduct executive business reviews. Similar in the SaaS space, we're constantly doing executive EBRs are really critical to the success of our customers, and we make sure their systems are set up properly. The billing frequency is happening at the rate that they expect. That we're collecting everything that needs to be collected. Anything that needs to be written off in their system, we're focused on the write-offs. And the only way to do that effectively is really through that EBR, where it really looks at the overall health of the financials for the customer. And then we also talk to them about growth. I think what we do is really unique and very different. There's a lot of revenue cycle management companies out there that they're just processing the claims. And Paradigm is really different in the fact that we actually do a lot of coaching on a lot of these payer lines to teach owners how to grow their census. How can they service more veterans? How can they service more Medicaid beneficiaries in their communities? And we have a strategic growth coaching team that sits down and provides education because they are experts in this space, and they teach very seasoned and tenured owners how they can grow that line of business. And in turn, we have a great translation to an impact in their revenue. And when they grow, we grow. And in SaaS, I felt like we were constantly trying to show them how our impact hits their bottom line. Right?
Right.
And you're trying to show that value consistently and often. And here at Paradigm, we are directly tied to their revenue. And so it makes the customer really sticky. It helps them stay with us long term, especially if we help them grow and expand their business, triple their size, add multiple locations throughout the country. We have tons of success stories, and we're really proud of like the work that we do. So those are some of the key differences, I would say, and the things we track.
Yeah, amazing. Just that is great stuff. I mean, it's certainly a noble cause that you're
Mm,
working towards, and providing the services to veterans, et cetera. So it's way different, but it's interesting how similar it is. But
mm.
I thought you highlighted how it's just a little bit different, right?
Just a little different,
Just
yeah.
a little different. Speaking of a little different, I've got to get to this because I'm dying to ask you about this. Now, the role you mentioned account managers. You have account managers,
Yes,
right? Not customer success managers. So they
yes.
handle the entire relationship. Now, there's this ongoing debate we see out there on podcasts and podcast hosts that like to talk a lot, and you see it on LinkedIn about the role of the customer success manager and account manager and sales teams and who owns the revenue responsibilities and all this. And I think we overcomplicate it sometimes. So how do you define these roles and how do you deal with it? Because it shouldn't be that complicated if you think it
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, agreed. We've really tried to. It's funny because we've gone through a couple of iterations of naming conventions. When I first joined Paradigm, I'm pretty sure the team was called customer success managers, and then we switched to account managers. So
Right.
we don't. I don't know if we have it right either, but that's what we do today. So I'll kind of tell you a little bit of difference between how we do it in our organization. So we have exceptional account executives. We call them AEs, and our AEs are solely focused on net new business, new clients, and they are bringing in the revenue. They do not maintain long-term relationships with those clients. Although we do have some AEs that have been with us for a really long time that have maintained strong relationships with their customers, which is wonderful. After a customer comes on board with Paradigm, they might go through different phases of their customer journey, whether they're enrolling in a new payer line, they've never serviced the VA, they have to get contracted and in network first before they can provide that care to veterans specifically. And then we have that implementation team that kind of gets them set up to bill. And once they're ready and actively billing, that's when my team really takes over. And
Hmm.
the account managers really own those actively billing accounts. And they really spend a lot of intentional time with the customer and they get to know the customer very deeply. And a lot of times, customers will come to us and we will handle their VA billing business. Maybe they want to keep their Medicaid business in house. And over a period of time, we build trust and credibility. And then at some point in time, our account manager cross sells and says, "Hey, Gary, we'd love to also take your Medicaid business. What would that look like? Let's talk about that." And in turn, we have created what we call an account management qualified lead program, an AMQL program that incentivizes our account management team to cross sell into those other payer lines. And so it's been really wonderful since we kicked it off. We have, I would say, alley-ooped the sales reps
Yeah.
in closing deals
Yeah.
consistently. And honestly, there is so much, I would say, so much collaboration between our sales reps and our account managers that it's been a really strong success story for Paradigm. So when I came in and took over this department last year in May, we weren't selling anything. We were just services. We were focused on the customers, and I came in and said, I want to cross sell because we just know these customers so deeply, and we've worked so hard to build these relationships that it's just so easy for us to know when to plant the seed and know when to push
Uh,
for that sale. And it makes it so much easier than a sales rep calling, a year in,
th-
"Hey, Gary, can I get your Medicaid business?" And they're like, "Who are
who are
you?"
you?
Who are you? You haven't earned the right to ask me for
Me.
that business, but our
Right.
account managers have. And so we sell, and honest to goodness, it's been great for Paradigm, great for our customers, and honestly, we've done a great job in launching that program, and I'm really proud of the work that we're doing there.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a very smart and wise way to go about it because, I've always defaulted to, well, you got to build the trust. And if you've got a sales goal to meet,
Hmm.
that might kind of elbow in on the trust factor a little where you're there not really to service them. And so you got to be careful. That depends on the organization and what you're doing. But it's like we said in business school, we had the head of the finance department come teach our class once,
Hmm.
and the professor was out and he said, "I got a secret for you. There's one answer to every question your professor is going to ask you in finance that you can never be wrong. And it's two words. And nobody always, what are you talking about? It depends, right?
Yeah,
So I think,
right.
so if he asks you something, if interest rates go up, is that a good thing? Well, it depends. It depends on who you are. So it's one of these things. It depends really on what you're doing and how you're
Mhm.
doing it more than anything. So I tend to default that the customer success team should not have the sales goals do, but you've just eloquently put out a defense for why you could do it well. So
Yeah,
great
yeah. And
job.
I think too is that this is like a lesson learned too. You can't just pick up what you did in one company and just plop it down
Right.
into a new company. You really have to understand the nuances and if it makes sense. And in this case, it actually made sense. We had a new VP of sales that had joined at the same time that I took over that team. And we sat down together and said, hey, let's kick this off and let's kick it off together. And I think that alignment between myself and our sales leader is what led to the success because that sales leader helped us clearly define what that commission structure would look like, clearly defined, the CRM processes in the system, clearly did training with our team. And honestly, it's proven to be really valuable. So instead of him having a team of, I don't know how many sales reps he had, let's just say 10, he now has a team of 30. He has really expanded his ability to reach from a revenue standpoint, and we feel great about contributing to the overall revenue goals of the business. And it's a great way for our team to earn extra income. And sometimes we have little competitions around it, and we make it fun.
We
We make it fun.
yeah.
We do make it fun.
And that's a challenge because it's very a very difficult kind of content, right, that you're dealing with a
Yeah.
lot. So that's great to hear you say that. I'm going to ask you just for an example and a success story. I had a fancy schmancy question all prepared, but I'm just throwing that out the window. And I'm going to say you've had a lot of examples of success. Just give me a success story that you want to share with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there's one that comes to mind, and they're super great customers of ours. And they were a small Texas location, and they had came to us and said, "Hey, we want to do this, and we want to blow it up. We want to service veterans across the country quickly and as efficiently as possible. Can you help us?" And so we partnered really closely with them when they were one location. And over the tenure of our relationship together, they have expanded to over 33 locations across the US. And they are 100% veteran focused agency. A lot of agencies out there, their bread and butter of their business is private pay, and then they kind of do VA on the side and Medicaid on the side. It's a smaller part of their overall revenue. This organization said we want to care for veterans. That is the demographic of folks that we are interested in. And you know what we're going to do it? We're going to do it in the most rural markets across the country. We're not going to look at the metropolitan city areas. We're going to go where the veterans are actually living
Mm.
in rural parts of Texas and rural parts of Illinois and rural parts of Nevada. And let's make sure we support them. And honestly, that has been a tremendous success story. We have been partners with them, and they did the work. They did the work. They hired the right folks on their team. They've got an incredible operations leader. They have incredible leadership. The three leaders had worked together previously in different organization, and they just click. They all have their different strengths, and honestly, that is a huge success story for us. And I want to share one more if I could.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot of times customers come to us and maybe they didn't have a great experience with billing the VA back in the day. Maybe they billed the VA for claims and claims didn't get paid and they just have outstanding AR and they want to get paid. So there are situations where customers have come to us and said, hey, listen, I have $200,000 that I never got paid out by the VA. Can you help me collect this? And we have a wonderful audit team that will actually go through those claims, resubmit those claims, and push congressionally to get those claims paid.
Oh.
And we have collected hundreds and thousands of dollars for our customers. And what that's done is created a ton of credibility in our ability to be able to collect. And honestly, we have a lot of stories just like that. And I'm really, really proud of like the work that we do, because we're keeping small businesses afloat,
Yeah.
and we're helping them service more clients in our country. And I think that is incredibly rewarding work to do. And I think that's why everybody that works here at Paradigm um, tends to be really driven by our mission.
Yeah. Oh, those are wonderful stories and great to share. And it's just, you should be proud of
Thank
what
you.
you're doing. So thank you for sharing those with us.
Absolutely.
We got time for one more quick one on the basic interview section, and
All
then we got to hit the
right.
segments.
Okay.
This is a little bit of I'm flipping it a little bit from chip shots, but if wrap up questions, if you had to give one piece of advice to a new CS leader in healthcare, what would it be?
I would say listen more than you talk. I think that to me was you just got to really listen. You got to really understand the landscape you're walking into. You have to really understand the nuances within your organization before you throw out there all the ideas you want to put into place. Listen, understand before you take action.
Yeah, great advice for leaders and even better advice for podcast hosts. Let's hit the segments.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, everyone, it is time for Does It Hold Water, my favorite segment. This is where I ask our guests to be our resident expert witness for the day. I will read them a quote or a piece of thought leadership, and they will let us know if it holds water or not. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So for the first time, I'm quoting a guest that has been on Your Customer Your Success. I'm going to quote Chris Hood, who was our guest in episode 10, I believe. And Chris once said, talking about quarterly business reviews, if your customer leaves the room more energized about the future than when they entered, you've delivered real value. By that logic, some say the old way of doing QBRs is officially over. Is that a fair take? Is that reasonable? Or are we throwing out something that still works if we do it? Look
Mm-hmm.
towards the future more than the past in a QBR, or as you do, is an EBR, right? As you said earlier.
Yes. Yes, we do executive business reviews. Honestly, I think EBRs are incredibly valuable to the success of our customers. It is dedicated time for us to sit down with our customers. And honestly, our customers are excited to sit down with us. And we do a lot of strategic conversations. It is not a tactical conversation by any means. And because it's so strategic and so high level, I do think that it adds a ton of value. So I don't know about the old adage. I don't think it needs to be super, super long. I think it's something that can be done in 30 minutes. I think I think it's incredibly valuable and very important. And we even do EBRs on site. So we actually
Mm,
travel to meet our customers,
mhm.
and we do EBRs in person. And some of our EBRs are 4 hours long. And it is incredibly valuable, and we have walked away a lot of times with many takeaways, lots of actions, definitely things that we didn't know about, or things that will help us move our business forward and move their business forward. So don't think QBRs are dead. Definitely think we should still be doing them.
Yeah,
We should
I
probably need
just
to reimagine the way we do them.
that's what I'm saying, right? I wasn't saying they are dead. It's the way they were doing them. I think a lot of past looking, backwards looking stuff out there.
Yeah.
And the way I would approach it is I would have some of the data and the metrics in there in the presentation, but not talk about that in the meeting, right? So you
Yeah.
might go over, here's your usage or this, that, the other thing, whatever you're measuring in the investment world is your performance on your product, your investments.
Yeah.
And we did have performances a lot of our products as well, but we wouldn't spend too much time on the past. You'd a little bit more of what's going on in the future, but you do want to remind them how you've been there as a provider for them over the years and everything you do for them. So I can kind of see the value of the retro looking kind of thing, but kind of keep that in the notes, so to speak, and
Agreed.
the discussion.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we'd have annual reviews that we like I said were 4 hours long. We'd in the old
Yeah.
days, you'd bring out a whole bunch of people, and that kind of went by the wayside a little. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not, but it's an interesting take on how to do it, and these debates back and forth of do a QBR this way, that way. It depends on who you are and what you're
Yeah.
trying to accomplish, and a
Exactly.
lot of the talk out there is great, but When you get down to it, it's what works for you and your clients.
Exactly. We walk away from every EBR and we sit down with our customers afterwards and we say, "Hey, is there anything we could have done differently that would have made this more valuable for you?" Because we're taking time out of your day, and a lot of times our customers always consistently tell us, "I'm so glad we had this meeting. I'm so glad we had this touch point."
Mhm.
So for us, like the way we do it, it is a very future focused conversation. It is, where are they taking their business? What areas do they want to focus on? How can we better partner with them? And so we can be a part of that journey with them, alongside them as partners. And honestly, that's worked really well for our organization.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. It sounds like you go about it just right. Good for you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to chip chats.
Let's do it.
Okay, everybody, it's time for Chip Shots, our fun yet still professional conversational questions, a little shorter in format. We try to go with 3 or 4, time permitting. That will be interesting. And we always start with the book question, Amber. What's one book that has significantly influenced you professionally, personally, both?
Yeah, my favorite book is called Reality Based Leadership, and it is by Cy Wakeman. And she talks a lot about ditching drama in the workplace. And we did a little book club when I used to work at a hospital, and all of us leaders sat down and we read her book, and it was really great because, when you work on site in an office, there's always a little drama. And so it focused heavily on ditching the drama and calling people up to greatness.
Wow.
And it's a great book, and it made me look at leadership in a whole new perspective and in a whole new way, and also made me look internally too, that I sometimes was contributing to that by talking to a colleague about something else that happened, and then I'm like perpetuating the drama.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I don't need to do that anymore, because it's taking time away from what I need to be focused on. So it's a great book. Cy Wakeman has a couple of books out there. I listen to her podcast. She's great.
That is excellent. I got to give that a look, because
you'll have to.
I've been through some drama in my day.
Haven't we all?
Haven't
we all?
But that's the point, right? And I've never quite had that direct, a book just about drama, just reducing the drama. That is funny. That is great stuff. So definitely I will check that one out. Thank you for that. All right,
absolutely.
Yeah, so let's get to the leader question. I think this is an interesting one for you. If you could spend the day shadowing a leader or a professional in any industry, who would it be, and what would you hope to learn?
I would do Rosalind Brewer. She was the CEO of Walgreens for several years. She was at Walmart and Starbucks, and she's an incredible leader. And she's a woman of color, and she has really opened the door for a lot of us female leaders of color. And I definitely love to follow her career. I followed it for a really long time, and she's an incredible woman.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm not super familiar with her. I've heard the name, but that sounds
yeah, you got to check her out. She's great. She's really, really great.
Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you so much for that. Let's keep rolling here with, for you, a particular experience or failure early in your career that taught you a valuable lesson you still use today.
Oh my gosh. Probably being too nice. Oh, that sounds funny, but it's true. I think there is a difference between being nice and kind. And I think there was early in my career, there was a need for me to feel liked. Right? Like I wanted to be likable and liked by my team, and almost, I think that didn't create the right relationship in certain capacities. And I thought what I was doing was right, but it definitely bit me in the behind a couple of times. And so now I realize that there's a way to be kind with people, but also hold team members accountable. And early in my career, I struggled with holding team members accountable, because I was like bridging that fact of like, if I hold them accountable, I'm not going to be liked. And now that I'm way into my 30s and almost in my 40s, I am who I am. And I like who I am, and I'm very comfortable and confident with who I am as a person. And so I think the need to be liked is definitely gone. I care about making an impact as a leader.
Making a big,
that's more important to me than being liked by everybody.
Yeah, no, I feel you, especially early in the career, right? There's that social aspect of working, and you want to. Yep, I hear you. So a great piece of advice. We got a quick one more question, if you don't mind. An unexpected or unconventional lesson you've learned.
Oh my gosh, you do not have to fix everything immediately. I thought, first time leader. I thought, problem, I need to solution for it and I need to solve it right away. I think the best piece of advice is actually sometimes to pause and reflect. It allows for new ideas to populate. It allows for some collaboration. And sometimes the things that are brought to you don't always need to be fixed by you. So I think that's, you don't have to fix everything immediately.
Yeah, great one. I like that a lot. And Matt Feiner just said in an episode that just dropped recently, he said basically one of the tools that is undervalued is silence. Yeah. Especially in meetings. So funny.
Similar. I saw a wonderful friend of mine post on LinkedIn recently that he put a card in front of his team that said, "Stop talking." And it was a quirky, funny, cheeky way of saying, listen more. And shout out to my friend Jeff for posting that, because I loved that. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, great words of wisdom. Amber, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you tell everybody where we could find you?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, Amber Monroe. And obviously, you could reach me also via email. I'll give you my email here. It's info@ambermonroecx.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Again, wonderful guest. I've enjoyed this conversation tremendously. Thank you all for joining your Customer Success Day. We'll be back with more CX leaders, maybe some investment outlook stuff as well. I keep hinting at that. I'm trying to get this figured out. And some CX professionals as well. That's all for today. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Bye for now. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you found something insightful that will enhance your experiences and drive your success. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and share your thoughts to help us improve the show. Don't forget to head on over to marracxhub.com for more ways to connect with me and learn more about experience management. Until next time, I'm Gary Marra, working hard for your customer and your success.